Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome to CC15's API night. Yay! Okay, so we're super excited about this one because tonight and this week we were able to collaborate with MyMizu, who represent a cause that here at CC I think we all feel pretty strongly about. So this was an exceptional week for us to be able to work with them, and I'll talk lots about it later, but just super grateful to have the opportunity to do this, and the time that they extended to work with our students as well has been invaluable. So before I turn it over to our lovely guests, Lori and Mariko from MyMizu, I just want to talk a little bit about what it is that you're going to see tonight. So the students that you're about to see present got the agreement for this project on Tuesday at about 10 a.m. Before that, they had no idea what they were doing. So, and then they were pretty much finished with the project this afternoon-ish. I'll let them tell you that secret if they want to or not. And so what you've seen, or what you're going to see here tonight is basically something that they built from scratch, from their own ideas in about 3.5 days. And so I hope that you will be just as impressed and amazed as I was when I was able to see these projects for the first time. So without any more gabbing from me, I'm going to turn it over to Lori, who's going to be presenting physically here from the park here at CC. Hello, remote people. And also Mariko, who's going to be joining us from Kanagawa. So thank you so much, and let's go ahead and take it away.
I think we're just going to try and introduce MyMizu and a bit of our story quickly. We have a short presentation. Thanks, America. So I'm Laurie. I've been doing tech stuff for MyMizu since we, I guess, began in like June last year, and it's been a real roller coaster since. And we are so excited and happy to be doing some code courses. So thank you to all the organizers and participants, firstly. And I think I'll let Mariko introduce herself and then talk about the idea behind MyMizu. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you so much, everyone who's joining today, as well as the gang at Code Chrysalis. As Laurie said, we're super grateful for this opportunity and, love the energy that's been coming out from the team as well. So thank you. I will very quickly introduce MyMizu, what we do, why we're doing it, before I hand over to Laurie, who has built this from the ground up, to tell you a little bit more about the tech side. So yeah, I guess I should probably say my name is Mariko. I'm co-founder of MyMizu. We're a small team, but we're very ambitious, and we what should I say? We have a lot of fun whilst we do what we do. So this is what we'll cover, not project ideas. That's an old slide, sorry. Okay, so why we started. So me, my co-founder, and actually all of our team, we love nature. We love, the outdoors, ocean, wherever you are. And, this is what supports us as humans as well, this ecosystem. But unfortunately, these days, I think more often than not, we do find ourselves looking at scenes like this, where you find, plastic that's lying around on the ocean, on the beaches, in the ocean, and starting to really not just look horrible, but really starting to affect the ecosystem as well. So I wanted to ask just if anyone, a lot of you in the room will already know the answer to this question, but do you know how long it takes for a PET bottle, a single-use plastic bottle, to break down if it gets into nature? I'm not going to leave you for very long. Anybody want to know? Anyone who doesn't already know the answer from my last presentation want to guess?
You want to take anyone in the audience?
Million years?
Million years.
Hi, thank you. All right. It's at least 450 years, but it may take a lot longer. We just haven't, been here long enough. What does it say? Yeah, so I mean, we haven't had plastic around for long enough to really know, but there are some theories that say it doesn't ever disappear and it remains in our environment, disrupting it. So it's obviously an issue, and this has become, globally very much recognized as an issue, that we need to stop consuming so much single-use plastic. But what can we do about that? Well, I mean, the first thing we can do is look at some of the stats. So I don't know if you're familiar with this, but we use 1 million single-use plastic bottles every minute around the world. And in Japan specifically, in 1 year, we consume 25.2 billion PET bottles. There's a lot of PET bottles. And although the recycling rate in Japan is very high, for plastic generally, though the government says it's 84% recycled, actually 50 to 70% of that is actually burnt and in so-called thermal recovery. So we're not necessarily recycling our PET bottles and seeing them coming out as exactly the same kind of PET bottles. So bearing in mind that this is a huge amount of waste that's being produced, we set out to say maybe we could reduce what is being used. So we created MyMizu, which is focused around an app where essentially you can find places to refill. So if you have, I don't have one on me, but if you have a reusable water bottle, you can go to any of the places on our app and refill for free. And we have everything from public water spots to shops, cafes, all these awesome refill partners who give our users water in exchange for just a big smile. So the platform is crowdsourced and co-created. So we don't provide refill spots. We don't, provide a service. What we do is provide a platform. So users can register information. A lot of the information in our app is either open data or it's information that our users have added so that other people can find those refill spots. And we also have refill partners who join the platform, as I said, as a shop or a business. And our volunteer members actually go through all of that data and make sure it makes sense to all of our users. We have about 650 to 700 shops who are registered across Japan and actually a number globally as well. And we've realized that although it's really cool just to, in order to be able to refill when you're going around, there's one really important thing that we did in January this year, and that's to start to visualize the impact of, refilling and trying to reduce the number of PET bottles you're buying. So using this, you can track how many PET bottles you saved, but also how much CO2 you saved. To very briefly cover kind of where we've come. So we've been running for just over a year. We've had about 60,000 plus downloads in over 40 countries. So we're in English and Japanese. Like I said, we had a lot of refill partners sign up, but we've also saved a lot of bottles in the process. We also focus a lot on communications and doing events, partnerships, collaborations. So we're not just talking about the tool that we can provide, but also why is this important, and engaging as many people as possible. Our overall mission is to change people's behavior so it's more sustainable, to create this more sustainable society, because we think we can, make this happen. And so, this holistic approach. So we say, how do we get people involved? How do we make it clear that there are better alternatives out there, is very much at the core of what we do. We also do that through collaborating with companies to showcase, one of the things people can do in order to make the switch to a more sustainable lifestyle. I'm going to skip this. And finally, from my side, so this is something we launched recently, but in order to encourage and incentivize people to refill and to make that switch, we launched the MyMizu challenge, which is essentially you can set a time period and say, okay, cool. In a month, we're going to see how many PET bottles we can save. And we just ran this with a big company at about 2,700 of their employees, seeing how many PET bottles they could save over the course of the month. They managed to save over 30,000 PET bottles in just 1 month. So that's an awesome result for them to be able to share, and also for us to say, look, this is the kind of thing that we're able to do if we all, play our role. So, we have big ambitions to scale, to scale what we're doing, and to make it more fun, involve as many people as possible. But I'm going to hand over to Laurie now to talk a little bit about the tech side.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'll just really briefly, I think the next slide was literally, I think this might be the first meeting with Robin. I don't know if anyone knows the Yahoo Lodge, like we went to a free co-working space, and this is what Robin threw together. This is the spec.
Very clear.
The inception of MyMizu, I guess, a year ago. And yeah, I think Mariko, I'll say as well, I grew up near the ocean, so I was really excited to be involved in this, because when I moved to Japan, and I love Japan, but I was genuinely quite shocked at the plastic usage here. I'll just leave that there. But So I was really excited to get started on MyMizu, and then the next slide is actually the prototype of the first app we launched, which the first app I made, and you can see it looks quite basic, but it's a fair translation of what you just saw on the whiteboard, I think. What you can find on the map, and that was basically what we started with. And we've developed it a lot since then. Next slide, please. We launched just in time for the Rugby World Cup, which was a very exciting time in the normal reality. We had some really great reception from people in Japan, or like people telling us we were better than Pokemon Go, which was, I think that's my favorite review of all time. I'll put that on my tombstone. And then January, this year, we launched a new app working with Tachi, in React Native for the engineers out there. So we launched on Android as well last, and we added the refill tracking feature as well. And this app has served us really well, and we've grown so much, like Mariko said, in the last year, which has been amazing. And seeing, I think especially for me as a developer, like seeing the way people have actually used, what I made was amazing. And seeing it in the newspaper like this being mentioned was really unbelievable. And it's been really crazy. So I think I really just wanted to echo what Heather said at the beginning of this week, which was you guys have the power, you can learn to code, and then you can go out there and make your ideas, you can make them come true. Hopefully MyMizu can inspire you guys to tackle your things you care about, problems you see in society even. Change the world. Thank you so much for having us here. And I'm really excited to see what you guys have prepared for us. And please stay in touch after this. Slide into my DMs. And thank you all. Thank you all so much for the hospitality, and I'll hand it back over to Heather.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much to Lori and to Mariko. They, on top of all of the crazy schedule that they have, they came and made time to spend an entire week on this. So super, super grateful. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Vic, who is the lead instructor for this cohort, and he's going to be emceeing for the teams this evening. So welcome, Vic.
Hello, can you hear me? Hi, everyone. Some people online might remember me. Hi, I'm Vic. Look at what this is doing to me. So, just a few words before we kick off. I've spent the past 7 weeks, I was going to say years, the last 7 weeks working with this group of people, and it's a truly dedicated group of people. There's a real feeling that we all have a common goal. And I just want to recognize also the apps that you're going to see tonight. There's a lot of work that you don't get to see. There's a lot of architecture, a lot of decisions, a lot of important points where they truly are becoming engineers that you don't get to see. But I'm here to remind you, they are facing real problems, and they're aiming to solve these real problems in a very impactful way. Working with MyMizu has been really cool because they are also aiming to solve big problems, and they have big ambitions. And it has allowed us to dream really big and know that we are capable. That little whiteboard that you just showed, Lori, oh my God, I look back at all of them because they had the same thing in their whiteboards here when they were starting this project. So that's truly exceptional. So I just want to recognize that invisible work before we even start. So good job. And let's kick it off then. So for our first team, we have a team called Polar Party Bears. They'll let you know why they chose that name. Their little fact is that they are all from different countries, right? And I want to say something really quick about their app. They chose a serverless architecture, which they will talk about. We don't teach serverless at Code Chrysalis. we want to teach engineering criteria, and we want to give people the judgment to do so, to make these decisions. So it's really exciting when they come up with something that we didn't really cover, and they found the solution or the decision for making an app in a different way, out of their own volition and creativity. So let's give it up for Polar Party Bears. Yay!
Hello everyone, good evening. My name is Antonio and I'm the tech lead for the Polar Party Bears, and I will be introducing to you tonight MyMizu Teams, a social game built upon the already existing MyMizu platform. Now, let's start by answering the question, what name is Polar Party Bear? The reason for that name was chosen because a group of polar bears, it's called a celebration, for those of you that didn't know. But now, let's go ahead and let's meet the team. Here to my right, we have Shivani, who worked on our front end. As we said, we're all from different countries. Shivani is originally from India. To my left right here, we have Kenny, who worked on our backend and database. He's originally from Hong Kong. Remotely, in the little frame over there, we have Jose, who's currently joining us from Hakuba, Japan, but he's originally from Colombia. He also worked on front end as well. And then there's me, originally from Italy, Antonio. I was the full stack developer and tech lead. Full stack developer because it sounds slightly better than jack of all trades in a resume, let's face it. Now, moving forward, MyMizu is an app that had, as we said already, over 60,000 download, and I helped save over 75,000 water bottles saved throughout it. And the first step that we did when we began this project, downloaded the app, started using it. We all own our refillable water bottle and started using it. And you know, as we started doing our research, we started making some assumption, and then after we checked with them, they proved to be right. On average, only about 4.5% of MyMizu users are still using the app after the first 2 weeks. And let's face it, that is not great, not just for MyMizu, because we want to keep that movement going, but also for the environment. Let's face it, pollution and climate change are the challenge of our generation, the future generation, and we can probably define them as the biggest challenge of the 21st century. So after that, we came up with an idea. We had our mission. Our mission was set, and our mission was to improve retention and experience, and user experience, and with the goal of expanding and improving user retention through gamification. Now, let me introduce you to our target demographic, our target audience. Let's meet Saya. Saya is a young professional. She is active and she likes a little bit of a challenge. She cares about the environment and already owns a water bottle. She used it. She downloaded the MyMizu app, but every now and then, you know, in this hectic paced life, when she leaves, she fills it up before she leaves the house, or she just doesn't have the time or a reason for just logging into the app and registering her refill. And so her main question was, what if there was to be a layer in which I can, you know, connect with my friends, create a team, and we can sort of have a little friendly race about who is recycling the most. And now let's actually show MyMizu Teams, and for a demo, Shivani.
Thank you, Antonio. So I will be taking us through the demo of MyMizu Teams. So here we have our sign up form. So we're signing up Recyclatron. And if we go here, you can see the first landing page you see once you sign up. So here, Recyclatron does not have a team yet, so we can create our own team. And here I have a form pre-filled. So let's give that a go. And actually, we have validation. So every time you try to register a team, all the usernames, they cross-check whether these usernames actually already exist in the MyMizu database. So you already have to be a user of MyMizu to use MyMizu Teams. So in this case, this user does not exist, so this doesn't work. But no worries, I have my own account and I'm already part of a team. So I'm gonna log in to my account. And as you can see here, we're gonna have a home screen. And if we click on the dashboard, we have, ooh, nice. So I'm on Team Polar Party Bears. And we have our weekly stats. So here, team total, we have the bottles saved and CO2 saved. And if you go to per person average, it shows the per person average of bottles saved and CO2 saved. Nice. And if you go to leaderboards, we have monthly and weekly leaderboards, and all time would be a future feature we'd like to implement. So here, if you go to monthly, teams are ranked based on per person average. So you have a list of teams. Oh, we're on top. Cool. And we have bottles saved per person and CO2 saved per person. And here you can toggle to switch between total and average. So you can get all your stats. And this is what the weekly leaderboard also looks like. And now I'm going to take us back to our slides so I can lead you through our tech stack. So here, for our tech stack, we used Firebase. So we use Firebase for deployment, for our authentication, and our database. Specifically for our database, we use Firestore. And then for our API, of course, we use the lovely MyMizu API. Thank you, MyMizu. And for our front end, we used React and Bootstrap to build out our UI components. And with that, I'm going to pass it off to my colleague Kenny to talk about backend.
Thank you, Shivani. And now I'm Kenny, and as Antonio has said, I'm in charge of mainly the backend and the database and some deployment. So I will start from that. So firstly, this app is a serverless app. So what does it mean? For those of you who are not familiar with this serverless thing, so we need to start from what is traditional app deployment. So traditional deployment is that basically you build like a server, you have a big machine here, and then basically you wrap everything inside the server. The front-end logic, the security protocols, the back-end logics, and your database. And there we have a problem of scalability, where sometimes when our business grows big and bigger, and like we have more users, we need more read, write, and stuff, we may need to have a more powerful server. And that you need to buy a new machine, and then you need to do all the setups. We can become fussy. And so recently there's a trend of serverless app where you actually put the whole server on the cloud. So in this case, we have used Firebase as our deployment platform, and there actually the security, the backend logics, and database are separated. In this sense, it's actually, even if the number of users increases, we can just pay more money to have a more powerful server on the cloud. Oh, so the users, the client side only have the front-end logics to access the database through the backend logics, through the cloud functions, which is different from traditionally what we did. So basically that's it. And talking about the database, since we have deployed on the Firebase, we have used their service, a real-time database, not the real-time database, the Firestore. So this database is actually live fetching data through the MyMizu API to the MyMizu database. What it does is has some cloud functions, which is, for example, user management and team management, where you can add user, add team, edit them, and then delete them. So we also, more interestingly, we can do the track user and team water refill data through the MyMizu API, and also we have a daily update of this data. So for the challenges, we are new to the Firebase, and the Firestore will face a couple of challenges, including, for example, setting up those cloud functions, which acts as our own API to connect the cloud database to our app, and also connecting to the MyMizu database. And secondly, we have to work with the external API in live fetching format, which is something that we have never done. And also, we have actually made the change from the Firebase real-time database to Firestore because of the scalability issue. When your data there's a lot of data, real-time database is not that good to handle that, so we make the switch, the leap of faith. So now I pass the time to my amazing colleague, Jose, to talk about the front-end stuff.
Thank you very much, Kenny. So now the presenter just moved 400 kilometers away from the room, but I'm here from Hakuba in Japan. I would like to talk to you a little bit about the front end. So all the architecture that you saw now on the back end needs to be shown to the users in a nicely way. So we decided to build this app in a React framework. So React is a JavaScript library that will help us create a very delightful user experiences. In the same way, the architecture of our app is modular. So the elements that you saw on the app, like the dashboard or the leaderboards, the sign-up forms or the login forms, all these are elements that come together thanks to the architecture of the app. And of course, one of the main objectives that we had in mind, it was to make this MyMizu Teams app seamless as possible with the current MyMizu app. So we did a great effort implementing the MyMizu brand guidelines in every one of our dashboards. So I think you already appreciated that on our demo. So to do so, we faced a few challenges in the implementation of the front end. One of the main challenges was being able to integrate all these different modules into one single dashboard. Also, as my colleague Kenny explained before, the serverless architecture and the database are based in the cloud, and that was a new thing for us. So being able to retrieve the data from the cloud and displaying it in a friendly way in the front end was also a challenging part of this project. And last but not least, being able to make this data that we were retrieving relatable to the users was also a design and a front-end challenge. So after being involved in this project for so long, we also have more ideas on what can be next for MyMizu teams. And these are the features that if we would have more time, we would have implemented, or these are features that we want to bring as ideas for the MyMizu app team to develop and continue with the legacy of this project. So in order of probably the easiest to implement to the most complicated and most challenging to implement, I would say we would like to include social sharing features. So the users in our teams can share information about their current progress on the app. Also, we would like to implement scavenger hunts. So the game are not only related to saving bottles, but also integrating with the location system that it's already implemented in the app. And last and possibly the most challenging, both technically and logistically, is in, implementing a reward system with the teams in a way that we could potentially award points or currency, and then being able to use this points or currency in the MyMizu store or probably with other partners across Japan. So that brings us to the end of the presentation. But that is to say, on the screen, you have now the QR code and the web address where you can actually access the app that we just demonstrated. You can, of course, if you have a MyMizu app username, you can download, log into the app and create a team. And of course, enjoy all the features that we designed for you. These are our GitHub names, and you can contact us for any more information that you'd like. Thank you very much for coming tonight.
Thank you so much, Polar Party Bears. That was great. Next up, we have a team called Crystal Clear. Amazing name. Their app's name is very similar, Crystal Clear. Their mission is to allow you to visualize your impact as a MyMizu user, or anybody who is related to MyMizu for that matter. The impact of MyMizu is important to visualize in a meaningful way for people. So they want to do just that. Fun fact about them, they love Japanese puns. So don't mizu any puns that they made during the, I'm so sorry, people. I'm so sorry. I had to. I'm so sorry. So another fun fact, because they shared two and I have just asked for one, but they were a half Windows, half Mac team, and that presents its own set of challenges. I'm very proud of what every team has done here. I'm so happy. I'm just giddy. I'm so sorry. Let's just give it up for Crystal Clear. Yay!
Okay. Thank you, Vic. Hello, everyone. We will talk about our application, Crystal Clear, which uses MyMiz API. Thank you, MyMiz. Okay, then go and I introduce our team briefly. Michael, tech lead, and Jack, full stack guy, and Nina, front end master, and me, I'm Yoshi, backend. Okay, next, please. Okay. And our project goal is showing the impact of MyMizu users because we want to inspire people with visualization of this impact of MyMizu users. Okay. Next, Michael will talk about our application.
Thank you, Yoshi. All right. So MyMizu already has a pretty big community. They have over 60,000 downloads, but there's still more people that we can let into that community and they can help us out and help out the earth. So let's meet our average user, or soon-to-be user, Kato. All right, so maybe Kato has a friend who's really into MyMizu and has been showing him all the data, all the stats, but maybe not enough for Kato to join himself. Kato still has some few questions left over, like, is it really enough that, I can really contribute, save plastic just by refilling? Is this community really active overall? Well, Kato, I'm happy to say you're about to find out thanks to our web app, Crystal Clear. So let's go ahead and take a look at what it looks like. So this is what Kato is going to see right away, Crystal Clear. And in the middle of the page, you can see there's a nice metric that explains the average MyMizu user saves as much CO2 that 15 trees would normally clean out of the atmosphere. All right, he says, maybe that's a good start. I don't know if I'm on board yet. Well, Kato, look on the left. You can see that there's a historical refill chart showing all of the refills of the whole MyMizu community up until now. And although coronavirus, you can see, made a small dip, the community is still very much active. Way to go, MyMizu. Kato's a little more impressed, but it's not enough. All right, Kato, let's look at on the far right. This is interesting. This is a breakdown of the types of refill spots in Shinjuku in Tokyo. But there's a little search bar on top, Kato might say, to which I say, yes, there is. So let's take a look and search for Shibuya and see what kind of spots Shibuya has for us. And in real time, the graph will update and show all of the types of refill spots in Shibuya. That's cool, Kato says, a little more impressed. Let's try Roppongi because I spend a lot of time there. All right, we can search for Roppongi, Kato, and we'll see what kind of spots are in Roppongi, right? And that's not how you spell Roppongi, Kato. So we'll see that in Roppongi, there's a lot of unclassified spots. So now Kato thinks, well, I guess if I go there every week, maybe I could start to classify some of those spots. Good idea, Kato. You can help out. So let's scroll down and see even more cool data. Right there in the center is the total number of liters that all the MyMizu community has refilled. That's a lot of water. And what's this? There's a leaderboard. So now Kato's really interested. He's like, I can see if I can get onto this leaderboard and maybe I can convince my friends to, and we can compete. Yes, you can. And on the left, this is cool. In the last 30 days, there's been 191 new refill spots added. So this community is still active right now. Super cool. Kato's wondering if he can add some more spots too. Yes, he can. And finally, on the far right is the total number of plastic saved by MyMizu, which is several hundred times higher than Tokyo Tower. Super cool. Kato's enthusiastic. You're enthusiastic. So let's go save some more plastic and the world. All right. Now, gonna pass things over to Yoshi once more for how we built Crystal Clear.
Thank you, Michael. I will talk about tech stack that we use. And as backend, Node.js, PostgreSQL, and Next.js for server and database. And front end is Vue and Chart for building user interface. And then, of course, we use API, MyMiz API, and Google Maps for searching place. And we this application, we deploy this application on Heroku. Yes. And Nina will talk about our challenges.
Thank you. So I'm going to just go over some challenges that we faced when we did this project. First, maybe some of the backend challenges. Essentially, the most challenging thing was for us to implement an Express API interface to actually interact with the data that we have, and also to seed some additional data. Since it's kind of difficult to kind of imagine what this looks like, we're going to try and give you some graphics to illustrate our backend. So first, we were provided with the MyMizu API and the MyMizu database. So we created our interface, and that was kind of communicating with the MyMizu API, and we created our front end that was interacting with our crystal clear Express interface. We kind of realized midway through that we would want to have some more detailed information, so we also made a way to kind of interact with the MyMizu database directly. And when we realized that we wanted to have even more detailed information to be displayed in our app, we made our own crystal clear database and seeded some more information into it. For the front end, one of the main challenges was to actually display this information that we had in some clear graphics, and we worked with charts.js for the first time, which was kind of challenging, but it was a very good experience for us. Some other front-end challenges included actually making the correct calls to our own crystal clear API interface to actually get the data we wanted to display, to work with the location search API, Google API, and others, and also to kind of get charts.js to work correctly with the view lifecycle hooks so that we could actually display dynamic data. I'm going to pass it off to Jack for some learnings.
Thank you, Nina. I'm going to talk a little about the main takeaways from this building this project. So during this project, we tried to maintain clear and consistent communication between the front end and back end teams in order to reduce waste and create, and so everyone is understanding the code base. So people on the back end understand what's going on the front end, and they understand what type of data is being passed through. And since we were working with MyMizu during this project, we had the chance to work with Laurie, and he was very helpful. And whenever we had questions, we were never afraid to reach out, because when you're developing a complicated full stack application, you don't really want to make any assumptions or have any gaps in knowledge. So don't be afraid to reach out to the developer community whenever you have questions. And of course, we only had 3 days to do this project, but we really want to implement some more features. So we would like to have more real-time analysis, so get into the API and MyMizu's data, maybe get access to the whole database, and then have some more dashboard features so people can see more areas where MyMizu is making an impact. Another thing we'd like to implement is maybe a goal tracking feature, so we can see how many bottles were saved each month, so that users can see the progress of MyMizu in terms of how they're tracking towards their 1 million bottle goal. And lastly, we'd like to tie in other data from public sources, like from Tokyo's open data, which is I've actually used in another project, and it has a wealth of resources such as water quality information that could really be interesting if tied into the MyMizu application. So yeah, just some of the features that we like to implement.
So thank you so much for your time today. We hope you enjoyed Crystal Clear, and we hope you feel a little more inspired to help out not only MyMizu, but maybe check out our app too. That would be cool. But let's all do our part to help the environment. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you so much, Crystal Clear. That was another fantastic effort in order to solve a real problem and to make a real impact. And I think you've done that. So to see our third big thing tonight, we have Team Wave. And their little fact is somebody in the team knows how to sing Hamilton. And that's all I can give you right now. It's up to you to figure it out. Another thing I want to point out before we start is we can really focus on the technical stuff when we see these presentations, and we're very worried about the stacks and the engineering problems, but one thing that we also do here, and we really put an emphasis on, is communication, technical communication, and feeling empathy for your users, for your teammates, and just being good at communicating complex technical ideas to other people is a skill that they're all developing every day. I'm so happy with what I'm seeing right now. It's fantastic where you've come. So that's enough from me. Who do I give the mic to? There you go. Let's give it up for
Hello everyone. Thank you for coming here today. We are Team Wade and we are going to present you our new product, MyMizualize. So I would like to start by introducing the team. We have two remotes in our team. We are Clay, who worked on the front end, and Alex, who worked as a full stack engineer, starting on the back end and then coming with me and Clay on the front end. We also had Jay, who developed all our back end, and me, Julian, the tech lead. And I am now going to pass it on to Clay, who is going to talk to us about MyMizu users and the problems we identified.
Thank you, Julian. So we began our concept with identifying problems that users may have with using MyMizu. Let's take a look at one user, Mikako. She's used the MyMizu app for a few months now, and on the app, she can track the bottled CO2 and money saved. But once these numbers get big enough, they're just numbers. It kind of loses its meaning. And Mikako kind of finds herself thinking, are we really making a difference? There's a similar issue that we've identified with other potential MyMizu users. And here we have Takashi. Takashi is naturally a skeptic, and he's heard of MyMizu, but he's doubtful of MyMizu's impact. Even if he uses the app, will his contributions help? Is there really a difference? Now, whether you're a current user or potential user, there's a clear need to comprehend the impact of MyMizu on the internet or on the environment. With those issues in mind, Team Wave's solution is MyMizualize. MyMizualize is a way to beautifully visualize data from MyMizu. It uses an intuitive and interactive UI to display data that is easy for users to understand. Our hope is that MyMizu can use MyMizualize as an interactive educational tool that can be shared with not just their own users, but with local governments, schools, and other organizations to show off the difference that they're making on the environment. And with that, I will pass the mic on to Alex, who will talk about the statistics.
All right, so the conception of our idea came from using the MyMizu app and seeing the impressive statistics listed, like the same amount of bottles saved and their carbon dioxide prevented by MyMizu users, but not really knowing just how impactful those statistics were in a broad or relatable context. And that's what we really wanted to do with the data, provide a fun way to digest the overall environmental impact of MyMizu users. And now we're going to move on to the demo.
So we are going to start the demo. I would like to thank Shivani, who is going to help us by holding the mic for me. Thank you very much. And let's start with the demonstration. So here is our own page. We try to stay consistent with MyMizu's branding guidelines. So if they want to use it, they can, tomorrow they go to a company and, hey, okay, it's looking like our website right now. Here we have a logo where if you click on it, you can access the MyMizu webpage. And without further ado, let's look at plastic bottles saved by users of MyMizu. So for that, we use a statistic that MyMizu provided us for the year of 2020. And we start the year with, in January alone, 1892 plastic bottles being saved. And we realized that if we stack these bottles on top of each other, it's the height of the Empire State Building. But let's keep scrolling. And in February, if we add the bottles from February, it's as tall as the Shanghai Tower. It's already pretty high. But in March, it's now as tall as 2 times the Burj Khalifa, the highest building in the world. Let's keep going. In April, it's 7 Godzillas on top of each other, 8 Eiffel Towers, 37 times the Statue of Liberty in June, 220 Gundams in July, that's already pretty high, 2 Mount Fujis in September, 137 ISS in October, thanks to a partnership with Lixit. They were able to prevent more than 38,000 plastic bottles from being used. And right now in November, it's as tall as 2x Mount Everest, which is quite amazing, I think. And now I'm going to pass it on to Jay, who is going to talk to us about the MyCO2 page. Jay?
Hi, thank you very much, Julian. My name is Jay Montojo, and I'd like to introduce you guys to the MyMizualize CO2 savings visualizer. So the statistic that Alex introduced earlier, that 26,000 kilograms of CO2, it's quite a large number. And actually, when we were trying to decide what we wanted to do for this page, Clay was telling me that that's about the same amount of CO2 produced by a car going from Montreal to Vancouver 26 times. For us Westerners, that's a very considerable statistic. However, for MyMizu, their primary audience would be people in Japan. So we wanted to create a way for them to be able to visualize this data using Google Maps API. And we really wanted to make it fun and intuitive so that people could also take home from these presentations a way to show to their friends and families the kind of impact that this company is making. So Julian, what do you say we go on a trip?
Sure, where do you want to go?
So Julian, let's go to, let's start in Tokyo.
Sure.
So Julian will select Tokyo, Japan. And where do you feel like going, Julian?
Let's go to Kyoto, maybe?
Let's go to Kyoto.
Yeah,
okay,
sure.
Let's go. And so the distance between Tokyo and Kyoto is about 454 kilometers by car. And that car produces about 56 kilograms of CO2. For context, the average school textbook is about 1 kilogram. Antonio's laptop is about 2 kilograms.
Only?
Only. And unfortunately, that's only 168 empty 500 milliliter plastic bottles. I want that number to sink in for a little bit because that's not a lot of plastic bottles. That's probably the amount of plastic bottles in 2 bins next to a vending machine. So Julian, let's go to another place. Let's go from Tokyo. Let's go visit Clay in Kagoshima. That's about 1,300 kilometers, 166 kilograms of CO2, and that's still only less than 500 empty 500 milliliter bottles. So we would like people to be able to take this information home, play around with it, but also have that impactful information to show their friends and family the kind of difference that MyMizu is making. So with that, Julian, let's go to the architecture slide.
Sure.
So to talk about the architecture and also the tech stack that we used, as Julian introduced earlier, I was the beatbox and bass bumping back-end boy. But actually, I played more of a role of a smooth operator.
Yeah, you are a smooth operator.
Thank you very much. So Alex and I built our API in the Node runtime through Express. And using Axios, we created a connection to the MyMizu API. We chose to do it through the server side rather than client side because we didn't want clients to have a direct connection to MyMizu's API database. Currently, our connection to Google Maps API is done on the client side, but eventually we'd like to transfer that through Express. We use ReactJS as our framework to serve the lovely visualizations that the front-end team worked on to our users. And so now I'm going to go pass it off to Clay to talk about future implementations.
Thank you, Jay. So for the future of MyMizualize, we want to expand it to visualize money saved and liters drunk as well, since this statistic is readily available on the app. At the moment, we have some simple interactivity, but we'd like to integrate more ways for users to interact with the data. Along with that, we'd also like to have users be able to visualize their own MyMizu statistics. Last, a large percentage of MyMizu users are Japanese. In the future, we'd like to implement a Japanese version of MyMizualize for more accessibility for the Japanese user base. And now, Alex will share with you the challenges that we faced.
All right, so in general, we ran into a couple of barriers during the project. On the back end, it was pretty challenging at the beginning, trying to connect to MyMizu's API and display our data on the front end. At first, we were trying to make requests through the front end, but repeatedly ran into access issues. So then we decided to connect through our own local server, which presented its own challenges, but I think we came out on the winning side of that battle. Over on the front end, another issue was figuring out how to implement external APIs like Google's and making them play nice with React. Overall, though, I think the main challenge was making sure our UI was simple, intuitive, and engaging for our users while also solving the data context problems we talked about earlier. And then over the course of our project, we learned a lot as a team. This project involved a lot of front-end work, so it really forced us to learn a lot about the ins and outs of React and a bunch of helpful libraries. We also learned a lot about connecting to external APIs through a local server, which is something we weren't too comfortable with at the start. And overall, it was a super great learning experience for us to work with a professional company and prepare us for what's coming after the bootcamp.
Yes. Now it's time for thank you. So thank you for MyMizu for working with us this week and answering all our questions. Thank you again, Shivani, for helping us with the presentation. Thank you to the lovely staff of Code Chrysalis for helping us the last few weeks and the next few weeks, I hope so. And thank you to the members of my team who really did a great work this week. Here is a QR code you can flash to access our app currently deployed on Heroku. And here are our GitHub handles if you want to contact us after this presentation. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you so much, Team Wave. Wow. It's just hard to put into words. I'm proud of you, Peace. That's all I want to say. I'm proud of you. I know Laurie's proud. I know Heather's proud. Fraser here, you don't even know them that well. You're proud. It's crazy. And I just want to say, this is something I told him yesterday, and it's just crazy. We just ask too much of these people. Like, they have to think about UI, they have to think about user experience, they have to think about accessibility, they have to think about responsiveness, they have to think about performance in the servers, they have to think about reading a database, they have to, so many problems. They handle so many stacks now, and they are truly generalists right now in many ways, but one of the powerful things is that you're all realizing that the stack doesn't matter. What matters is that we're throwing problem after problem at you, and you're solving it through technology. It doesn't matter what you choose. You're making those decisions with your own criteria as an engineer. So I'm super proud of that. That's what I'm proud of. So good job. Thank you again, Laurie. Laurie did also a great effort in creating this interface that our students used, and MyMizu in general were wonderful to work with. So another hand for MyMizu. And with that, I'll pass it over to Heather to say some closing words. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vic, and wonderful emceeing tonight. I think that it was a lot of fun. So everyone, hands up for Vic! And so, I was telling him in the staff room at the beginning of this week, it feels so nice to work with a company that is making a difference and to partner up with them. So thanks again, MyMizu. And yes, I'm going to do it again. One more big hand for the students. So, it's been a rare privilege so far, and of course, as Julian mentioned, we still have a little bit of time left to go, to work with such a lovely group of growth mindset oriented and communicative human beings. They've really leaned into every single challenge that we've thrown at them so far in this course. I think they will all make an excellent addition to your team in a few weeks. Hint, hint. So yeah, speaking of which, I'm excited and deeply saddened to remind you all of a very important date that I think everyone should mark in their calendars, which is December 17th. That is going to be the demo day for CC15, where they will be emerging from the Chrysalis as... I'm not going to go there, I'm sorry. Too many butterfly puns have been made on this floor. But yes, please do tune in and enjoy the level of complexity that they're able to achieve even from now. I know we're super looking forward to it. They might be feeling a bit nervous right now, but we know they're going to crush it. So please do tune in. And if you haven't already, I know we've said it lots of times, please download the MyMizu app and help us save the planet, basically. And with that, we're gonna wrap up the stream in just a second. Thank you so much, online people. Thank you so much to the few on-site people who came out and joined us tonight. This is always like a really interesting experience. And yeah, everyone have a good night. Stay safe, stay warm, and take care. Goodbye.